One of the things that you want to pay attention to when you're shooting are the light levels, and there are opportunities to shoot the creatures in every variation of light. I've had to adjust this film. This is what it was like that day. It's that overcast. This is the actual footage, so I added light to it, and now I can examine it, play around with contrast, and bring out a little bit of depth, which is what I've done to this, which is footage shot with the DJI Osmo. Seeing creatures like this is a shock. I don't think there's any way around it. There's a core understanding inside me now that these things that I consider to be myth from ancient history were not. They're not, and that something drastic is really capable of happening with this kind of reality existing without people's knowledge. I consider this to be extremely important, and I'll try to share as much data as I can. I've been very transparent about everything from day one. If you've been a member of the study from 2015, then you know what's going on, man. And I used to just say what was going on. I don't try to hide it. I mean, what's the point? The whole point to this was to show you guys exactly what happens when somebody tries to prove what it is and actually puts the work into it. Well, here we are now. And it took me 5 years to accept this data. I was getting it. I just wasn't wanting to think that there was a possibility. The problem is that now that I'm actually following the thread, I'm only reconfirming this data. And you can see that these big creatures are there. Now, what we're witnessing in this particular clip is the classic, I can confuse human beings if I stand in a line and they peek out from behind each other. The one that we've highlighted in the center there is in the foreground, and there are others behind him, and they lean out, and you get a half a face, a half a face, a half a face, and it makes no sense with the diffusion and all of the aberration that's going on. Cutting the light enables us to at least reach in and for a few frames here and there get that individual that's in the foreground, right? That's him. He's right there. There's a brow and there's a squinty pair of enormous eyeballs, and they're eyeballing me. Me, man. And I'm looking for him. And I'm looking as hard as I can for any aberration, because that's what the creatures produce. They produce aberration when they're present, beyond what normal light conditions in a forest will produce. It will be abnormally dark in these areas the creatures are present, especially on overcast days. It will be abnormally bright green when these creatures are present, almost as though it's so bright you can't understand it. It has a lime green kind of a lighting to it. That's a lot of light you're not able to see, but you can see that creature right there in the foreground, and there's a bunch of them behind him. Look at the head. You can see it. You can even see both ears if you really look. Both sides of the head, that one ear. These are enormous creatures. I'm now aware of my handicap, and I'm compensating for it. When I go in, I've been seeing these things just the way you see them here recorded. So the creatures are aberrated in the daytime most of the time because they're always hanging around the bushes, right? So what we don't know is that the sunlight, literally, as it hits all of these plants, all of these bushes, all of the tree trunks, everything that it hits, it picks up that color, right? So if it's high enough, when the sunlight comes through it, it has picked up all those colors, and they're transmitting straight to the ground, or possibly even hitting other things and picking up more color. The plants are all aglow inside there, and we can't see it. We literally see shade as something darker, when the reality is it could be transmitting very bright light that our three-cone vision system simply can't see. And when we see the Sasquatch and its achromatic skin walk through that light we can't see, the creature's changing colors and it makes no sense to us. We don't see the light that's hitting its face. We see it as shade. So how is this thing changing colors when all it's doing is walking through the shade? This is all science that we're unfamiliar with, most of us, and we really need to look into it. And I know what to look for. You can't hide him anymore, right? He's watching me. You see that face? The next time he's watching me, I'm going to see him there watching me. See those eyes looking at me? Yeah, you see him. That's real. And at this point, I've seen one that was either at 20 or over 20. And if I need to see this, you know what I mean? I know what I'm going to see. I've seen it this big, but not with detail. This huge head, I've seen 3 or 4 times, and made out the brow and one of the balls staring at me from inside that big giant bone structure. You can see him there. That's like what I've seen. I want to see it. So, cameras will be rolling. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. Well, guys, we're looking at some footage here of that prairie where we researched the giants, and we got some really cool footage of one of these huge, more human type features. And you can see his eyes there reflecting the light back. But this is a huge creature right here, man. That's 12 to 14 feet tall. And he's just, in the background behind some trees watching my wife and I. There he is. Achromatic. So we're in this research area, man, and I'm like, I know this shot, this straightaway shot. There's a spot at the end, way down there. Let me zoom in, and I get the shot, and it's real foggy that morning, and I'm like putting it in there. I'm gonna break it down, and this is what it actually looks like without the highlight. And down, way down there at the end, is a spot that they watch, where we're standing from way down there. They can see it, and it's like in the fog, you're standing there and you can hear noises down that way, but you would never think that what is in fact down there watching you is actually there. Let's take a look and let's see exactly what's watching Melanie and I down at the end of that trail in that fog. So I'm going to put the highlight on, and then we're going to crop in, and that's what that looks like. We need a little bit closer to really see, so let me move in, and there we go. Now let's take a look. You can see he's right there, and basically it looks like what people describe as a skunk ape. And it looks like a little goblin creature. When we get further into it, you can really see this guy. The top of his head there. And it's got that kind of monkey man bone structure. We see this exact type of bone structure in those enormous creatures. So if you're looking at our work, you should have no trouble comparing individuals in this film to each other regardless of size.